Running shell command and capturing the output. I want to write a function that will execute a shell command and return its output as a string, no matter, is it an error or success message. I just want to get the same result that I would have gotten with the command line. What would be a code example that would do such a thing? For example,
in all officially maintained versions of Python, the simplest approach is to use the subprocess.check_output function. Check_output runs a single program that takes only arguments as input. When it returns the result exactly as printed to stout. If you need to write input to stin, skip ahead to the run or popen sections. If you want to execute complex shell commands, see the note on shell equals true at the end of this answer. The check_output function works in all officially maintained versions of Python. But for more recent versions, a more flexible approach is available. Modern versions of Python 3.5 or higher run. If you're using Python 3.5+ and do not need backwards compatibility, the new run function is recommended by the official documentation for most tasks. It provides a very general, high-level API for the subprocess module. To capture the output of a program, pass the subprocess.pipe flag to the stout keyword argument. Then access the stout attribute of the returned complete process object. The return value is a bytes object, so if you want a proper string, you'll need to decode it. Assuming the called process returns a UTF-8 encoded string. This can all be compressed to a one-liner if desired. If you want to pass input to the process's stin, you can pass a bytes object to the input keyword argument. You can capture errors by passing stir equals subprocess.pipe, capture to result.stir, or stir equals subprocess.stout, capture to result.stout along with regular output. If you want run to throw an exception when the process returns a non-zero exit code, you can pass check equals true. Or you can check the return code attribute of result above. When security is not a concern, you can also run more complex shell commands by passing shell equals true as described at the end of this answer. Later versions of Python streamline the above further. In Python 3.7+, the above one-liner can be spelled like this. Using run this way adds just a bit of complexity, compared to the old way of doing things. But now you can do almost anything you need to do with the run function alone. Older versions of Python 3.3.4, more about check_output. If you are using an older version of Python, or need modest backwards compatibility, you can use the check_output function as briefly described above. It has been available since Python 2.7. It takes the same arguments as popen, see below, and returns a string containing the program's output. The beginning of this answer has a more detailed usage example. In Python 3.5+, check_output is equivalent to executing run with check equals true and stout equals pipe, and returning just the stout attribute. You can pass stir equals subprocess.stout to ensure that error messages are included in the returned output. When security is not a concern, you can also run more complex shell commands by passing shell equals true as described at the end of this answer. If you need to pipe from stir or pass input to the process, check_output won't be up to the task. See the popen examples below in that case. Complex applications and legacy versions of Python 2.6 and below, Popen. If you need deep backwards compatibility, or if you need more sophisticated functionality than check_output or run provide, you'll have to work directly with Popen objects, which encapsulate the low-level API for subprocesses. The Popen constructor accepts either a single command without arguments, or a list containing a command as its first item, followed by any number of arguments, each as a separate item in the list. Schlex.split can help parse strings into appropriately formatted lists. Popen objects also accept a host of different arguments for process I/O management and low-level configuration. To send input and capture output, communicate is almost always the preferred method. As in, or. If you set stin equals pipe, communicate also allows you to pass data to the process via stin. Note Aaron Hall's answer, which indicates that on some systems, you may need to set stout, stir, and stin all to pipe, or div null, to get communicate to work at all. In some rare cases, you may need complex, real-time output capturing. Vartex answer suggests a way forward, but methods other than communicate are prone to deadlocks if not used carefully. As with all the above functions, when security is not a concern, you can run more complex shell commands by passing shell equals true. Notes. 1. Running shell commands, the shell equals true argument. Normally, each call to run, check_output, or the Popen constructor executes a single program. That means no fancy bash-style pipes. If you want to run complex shell commands, you can pass shell equals true, which all three functions support. For example, however, doing this raises security concerns. If you're doing anything more than light scripting, you might be better off calling each process separately, and passing the output from each as an input to the next, via or. The temptation to directly connect pipes is strong, resist it. Otherwise, you'll likely see deadlocks or have to do hacky things like this.
This is way easier, but only works on Unix, including Cygwin, and Python 2.7. It returns a tuple with the return_value output. For a solution that works in both Python 2 and Python 3, use the subprocess module instead.
I had the same problem but figured out a very simple way of doing this. Note, this solution is Python 3 specific as subprocess.duplicate doesn't work in Python 2.
Something like that. Note that I'm redirecting stare to stout. It might not be exactly what you want, but I want error messages also. This function yields line by line as they come. Normally you'd have to wait for subprocess to finish to get the output as a whole. For your case the usage would be
If you want to see more, please consider subscribing.